This video is for all beginner violas that just had their first lesson today. Really, this is going to be the same thing as the violin and as the cello, but I want to make sure that I review your exercises with you for where the strings are for your exercises. But first, let's review the things that we know. We know that the instrument has a body, and along the side of the body, the instrument has ribs, right? Remember, this is called a viola, not a viola, which I heard some of you saying, so just remember, it's a viola, okay? So it has the body and it has the ribs. And along the body, we have these other different parts, like we talked about, the viola has a neck, right? Like we have a neck, we have a body, and attached to the neck is the scroll. We said that was that fancy looking symbol, right? That's the scroll, where you have your peg box and your pegs. You have 4 pegs, because then you have 4 strings, right? And the strings run along this black part called the fingerboard, and that's called the fingerboard because that's the only place our fingers will go on the instrument. You can see that the fingerboard is not attached to this little black piece called the tailpiece. So remember, the viola has a body, it has ribs, and now it also has a tail, right? Tailpiece. So the fingerboard and the tailpiece both have the strings kind of connecting them, but what really connects them is this right here called the bridge, and that helps the strings pass along to the tailpiece from the fingerboard. You also have your chin rest, which is really important because that's where your chin will go when you bring your viola up to play. Lastly, like we said, you have 4 strings. I'm going to go from the lowest to the highest. So if you're holding your viola, this would be going from all the way to the left, all the way to the right. So all the way to the left, we have our lowest string, which is C. Then we have G. Then we have D. And then we have A. Notice that when I pluck, my thumb is at the edge of the fingerboard. It's not here, it's not here, it's not here, it's right here. So that little pointy edge of the fingerboard should be on the tip of my thumb. And I use my index finger to pull the string when I go to pluck it, okay? That's the only hand you should use to pluck. Shouldn't be using your left hand to pluck. You should only be using that to help hold the viola in your hand. So now that we've talked about those parts of the instrument, we also talked about the F-holes, right, which is how the sound projects. And inside, if you can see, there's a little post called the sound post, and that's what helps keep everything up and sturdy on your instrument. So now that you're ready, we talked about how we're going to hold the instrument. It should be in your left hand, right? Make sure you're holding out your left hand, not your right hand. So remember that if I'm doing the video, it might look backwards, but just kind of make sure you can make an L with your left hand. So you're going to take the viola by the neck and your thumb and your index finger. You're going to hold it out in front of you, right? If you would stand up, that'd be better because then you have really good posture. You're going to turn the viola so that it's to your right side. You're going to lift up your chin and you're going to bring the viola to your left shoulder. Ready? Like this, and your chin's going to come down onto the chin rest. You should eventually be able to drop your hand so that you're holding the viola in between your chin and your shoulder, not in your hand. But for now, go ahead and let your left hand rest almost against the scroll with no fingers touching the strings, or else you're going to get some really weird sounds when you go to pluck. So fingers up in the air over top of the fingerboard, not touching the strings. Then you take your right hand, and like I said before, you're going to put your thumb at the very edge of the fingerboard and use your index finger to pluck. Now the only strings you're learning to pluck right now are, let me make sure, this is right, I'll open up. Your open D and your open A. So that means that you're playing your second string to the left, right, and then your very last string, your highest string. So let's go ahead and play that open D exercise. If you open your book to number 2, it says let's play open D. So let's go ahead and do that, and remember your steady pulse. Ready? 1, 2, ready, and D, 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 sh, D, 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 rest. Rest. Then the next exercise says let's play open A. Let's do that together. Ready? And A, rest. 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 Two's a team, combines both the strings. So I'm gonna see if you can do that by yourself for practice, plus the other exercises that you have now that you've had a mini review. Okay? Happy practicing.